What's up, short attention span history nerds? My name's Mike Perry and you're watching 10 Minute History. Have you ever heard this song? Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his hat and called it Macaroni. Wait, what? Why would Mr. Doodle call his feathered hat Macaroni? I mean, this is macaroni and this is a hat. The two are as different as hats and macaroni. Truth is, there are few words with a more unexpected history than the word macaroni. In mid-18th century England, there was a macaroni that wasn't a pasta, but rather a delicate and pompous person. This person spoke, but said nothing, smiled, but not sincerely nor pleasantly. When gathered with his friends, he was a fairly fastidious person who ate meticulously, yet without a single sign of enjoyment. This person seemed to be neither male nor female, but exceeded conventional boundaries in terms of the fashion, culture, clothing, pretty much everything. The term macaroni was a pejorative. It was a rude way of describing someone who we might refer to today as a hipster. They were skinny men who wore tight pants, short coats, flashy shoes, striped socks, and their trademark exaggerated wigs, and they walked with pimp canes. The cane served no purpose other than to draw attention to them. This extravagant fashion flooded the streets of England in the 1760s. The comical characters of that age, like the ones I described above, portrayed people from the upper class of England wearing giant wigs with funny-looking miniature tricorn hats on top and thick pigtails attached from behind. Heavily powdered, the wigs often approached half the size of the macaronis themselves. King George III's son, George IV, was a macaroni. Watch the movie The Madness of King George. It portrays him as this super cringy, funny-dressed, effeminate man, or a macaroni. This foolish trend was started by young British aristocrats returning from their grand tour, which was a trip across continental Europe, especially Italy, taken by some with the intention of broadening their horizon and deepening their cultural knowledge. And it's not a bad idea if that's truly the reason that you travel to other countries. But the soon-to-be called macaronis came back arrogant and with an inflated self-worth. They developed a club called the Macaroni Club and set out to dress in a fashion that would distinguish themselves from the middle and lower class people. Macaronis felt that they were superior to the everyday commoner. As a result of their travels, a weird-looking, snobby fashion gradually emerged in England. These weirdos wore large wigs and slim clothing and had a strong passion for the Italian pasta from which they got their name. They would make it a point of being seen eating macaroni in public so as to appear more worldly and sophisticated. In the 1760s, macaroni was unknown in England. The young travelers were slowly introducing it to English society through their Italian travels. These men who had developed a taste for the macaroni on their grand tour used the word for everything that seemed grand, even ironically grand. You probably thought doing things ironically was a new thing. Nope, it's been around for centuries. Things that they considered a la mode or fashionable, to them they would call very macaroni. At the start, to be macaroni was to be considered modern, sophisticated, a worldly citizen, and a class act. Now, throw in arrogance and a lack of concern for others, and you were very macaroni. The fashion trend inspired men to dress loud and to adopt various female-oriented clothing tendencies like silk stockings, corsets, and makeup to add color to their lips and cheeks. As soon as their fashion spread beyond its aristocratic roots in the 1770s, and other less aristocrats were donning the macaroni style, it very quickly lost its distinction and just as quickly fell out of favor, just like fashion today. That's why I exclusively wear t-shirts. Primarily t-shirts from Bunker Branding, not a sponsor, but I'll leave a link in the description. They're neither in fashion nor out of fashion, cool nor lame, they're just t-shirts. You can wear them to the park, to church, a wedding, or a funeral, even if my wife does hate it and hides my shirts that Matt Carricker from Demolition Ranch shoots holes into, so I have to find an alternative shirt to wear to her cousin's funeral. Why am I talking about t-shirts? What was once a synonym for a refined Brit altered in meaning and became a word to describe a person who exceeded the conventional bounds in terms of fashion. Almost overnight, the term macaroni was used to ridicule men that were defined by their effeminate appearance, and entire industries sprung up in order to mock these macaroni men. In the early 1770s, Mary Darley, a professional cartoonist, and now that's a cool job, dedicated her days to drawing caricatures of macaronis and posting them in prints and books. With time passing, her London store grew to be known as the Macaroni Print Shop. Her ridicule is now regarded as the first widespread use of caricatures as a means of social criticism, and such satire inspired many to do the same. So, you can thank Mary Darley for that super cool caricature of you and your girlfriend that you got at Six Flags. The work can be traced back to the biography of one of the most prominent English literary figures of the century, Samuel Johnson, written by James Boswell. In the book, Boswell describes certain experiences with the English writer and jokingly describes him as a macaroni. One incident was while on tour in Scotland with Dr. Johnson. Boswell noticed his friend was very uncomfortable in the saddle. So in order to cheer him up, he called him a macaroni and a delicate Londoner, and as such, naturally, he wouldn't know how to ride a horse. In 18th century England, distinguished and noble young men tried to prove their worldliness and affirm their right to the luxury their status granted them. Instead, their fashionable, egotistic style of clothing only proved how disconnected from the real world they were, and they became a laughingstock in the eyes of real men. This trend is alive today, at least in some of its forms, and is recognized as the highly sophisticated clothing style of the dandy or hipster. Throw a paper airplane off any skyscraper in any large metropolitan city and you're likely to hit a man wearing pink pants, a white belt, a seafoam green shirt, blue blazer, and a bow tie. Oh yeah, macaronis have traded their cane for a merce, or a man purse. So that's the 10-minute history version of macaroni style. And if you were wondering about the song Yankee Doodle Dandy, here's a quick explanation. In British conversations, the term Yankee Doodle Dandy implied unsophisticated misappropriation of upper-class fashion, as though simply sticking a feather in one's cap would transform the wearer into a noble. So it was smack talk that the British were using to insinuate that the colonists were lower-class men who lacked masculinity, emphasizing that the American men were womanly. However, we all know how that war turned out. If you like short history videos with sarcasm and humor, consider subscribing to 10 Minute History. If you found this video to be rather dandy, then give it a thumbs up. Click the bell so you never miss out on an upload. And check out my other videos that YouTube will recommend at the end of this video. Until next time. What was once a synonym for a refrain... One incident while on tour in Scotland with Dr. Boswell... Not Dr. Boswell, it's Dr. Johnson. Throw a paper airplane off any large size. Throw a paper airplane off any large... It's like the hardest words in the whole world now.